I've had quite an array of responses to the statement I've just finished writing a novel, most of which I cannot identify with. The first was a response assuming I would need to write it over and over a period of 20 years and build an almost marriage relationship with an editor. Nope, I thought in my mind, it was done within the 2-month mark, and editing is being done now, after it's been completed, so just a check over. Another was a faint reply of wow, your first novel, and that was it. I later realized it was jealousy which had overtaken his mind, therefore was not allowing him to congratulate me, as I had expected he would. There have been many people who have, fully and wholeheartedly, congratulated me though. They were very nice feelings, I felt then. There were some who assumed the novel wouldn't be very good due to how quickly I wrote it, and also that it was my first novel. These things can be heard in the tone of the human voice if you're trained to listen to how something is said, not only their intended verbal content. I was also rather surprised at this novel's arrival in under 2 months. It began as a story which I'd received while walking in the park in the morning with my pooch. He walks off leash and has a very social time with the other dogs, sniffing and running, so I am free to walk and ponder and receive ideas from you know who, or perhaps you don't know who. Usually it would be a little seed of a song I would glean, a little catchy line perhaps. No, this time it was a whole lot of ideas and details, which I began to talk into my telephone, WhatsApping myself as I walked. It was clear I would have to begin to write out these stories before I would be left alone to do other tasks which were already firmly planted on my to-do list. These ideas were racing around in my thoughts and they weren't very much in order. It was completely like a horde of young children needing to be put into some semblance of order or they would go feral in no time, and break into argument. I knew I needed to tidy these thoughts before they turned into an anxious mob in my mind. By the way, my interest in other people's responses to me having written a novel is not at all high on my priority list. The conversations were somewhat unavoidable sometimes. Not always, sometimes I was fishing for their responses. Sometimes a little bit of excitement is shared. I know the purpose of the novel now. It was a strange process for me, starting with a few stories, and then one of them asked to be the publisher of another. The nesting had begun. Besides, I identify as a teacher, a therapist, and a songwriter these days. I suppose I've been relying on my observation of what I've actually done in life. But then I recently heard a little story that purported, an apple tree which has not produced fruit is not an apple tree. Why does a human feel the need to produce fruit before accepting an identity? I have a few clues as to the real reasons. I have done many things in my lifetime while trying to find that one thing that is satisfactory, that one thing which holds me. I might be getting close, but it's more of an umbrella under which a basket of little identities hang. Long gone are the days where my identity hangs on the jobs I've had or the accomplishments I've made. I am a little in awe of the timing of the birthing of this manuscript. 2025 was a very hectic year for me. Now as we have begun the next year, I'm hoping to not suffer even one psychic attack this year. As we are almost 1/12 of the way through and nothing has occurred yet, I think I'm doing well. But many will say that the energies of the new will come with the Chinese New Year and that is a few months into 2026. So I'm not anywhere near home free, am I? Last year I suffered from 3 enormous learning opportunities. I've been psychically and emotionally attacked by selfish, frightened, emotionally damaged people, these days labeled as narcissists, all of my life. Not only my adult life, but my childhood also, early priming in my case. I cannot say it was easy, but there was always some kind of education. I could have become a hurt person and stayed there. Indeed, for many years I was a hurt person. I wanted a new life at one point and while not feeling I had permission to leave the planet, I dedicated my energies to fixing this shit, as I labeled it then. Not long after that time, which is now almost 20 years back, I've spent almost everything I've had or could have created financially and physically, and yet I feel richer than I have ever felt in all of my years. I feel like I've truly fixed that shit. In between the second last and last narcissistic psychic attacks which I experienced in 2025, I happened to write a novel. Go figure. I wonder sometimes whether I've gotten so used to this mugglish bad behavior that I endure and wait for it to pass. Take my rest, then get back onto my life's work. Such might be the life these days of a non-muggle. I won't tell you I planned this novel. I still have the same pie-in-the-sky idea to get the story all the way to its intended end I will call integration. I suppose, in the same vein as my life journey of healing. I thought it would take a year or so to fix this shit, and here I am, around 20 years later, able to teach and therapize others on how to fix their problems, effectively I might add, because I've run the gauntlet to its end. I'm definitely not one for wasting my time. It was spent wisely if not in a widely accepted manner. This novel, now named Malena Valley, Dreaming the Village, is book one of what I'm guessing now will be a series of 3 or 4 books. And it grew so large, not being able to be cut apart, it has to be presented as part 1 and part 2. Hopefully, I outlive the final book in the series. Everything just keeps growing and growing. 20 years ago I made a promise and I began noticing the difference between the weeds and the plants in my forest-like mind. It is only perspective. Then I promised who I will pull the weeds out. I made room for growth and I nurtured the garden, the soil, gave water and fertilized too. Now it seems the sun is out, and growth is becoming obviously abundant. I feel often I need to take back at least the 20 years, more even, I spent getting here, to have the wisdom, to write what I do, teach what I do, and problem solve what I do in therapy with clients, just to fulfill the growing aspirations my open mind is growing in its garden now. I just imagined one character, having grown up in an English-speaking modern world of convenience and structure, flying to Hawaii. Just like I did. He would study what I learned, when I did the same. I think I made him a he, so that he wouldn't be too much like me, as I'm a she. He would return to his modern environment and integrate the learning, and try to bring it into his modern life, allowing life to take a new shape. Just like I did. Then he would investigate his own religious and spiritual origins and find the links between the two. He would find a way to bring the old back to life, from both of his angles of spiritual learning. Just like I'm trying to do. Book 1, Malena Valley, Dreaming the Village, Part 1 and 2, has this character having flown to Hawaii and studied for the first week. The very first part, just like I did. So there is much more to come. I truly don't know what will happen to Ethan as he moves along his journey. I do wish him a beautiful life. Just like I have wished and worked for myself to have. I must say, my journey was a lot harder than I'm making it for Ethan. His journey is very lovely and peaceful, but not without enough work for him to reflect upon. He found romantic love, I did not. He made lifelong friends, I did not. He connected to a traditional school which wanted him to stay connected for his entire life. I made the connection with the traditional school, but I had to leave to create my life of joy. Not everything old can be kept neat in the modern world. Malena Valley is far more lovely and beautiful than what I experienced when I lived and learned in Halawa Valley. His journey has, embedded in it, all that I have learned while on my own travels, and beyond them also. Ethan still has a long journey before the novel allows him to return back to his modern world, to live and perhaps integrate. Who knows if he will even get there? My novel series seems to be taken over by spirit. It seems to take all the turns needed to get the most important points across. I took it one chapter at a time. I listened to the ideas for the next connection, relationship, and the new characters which needed to arrive. While rereading the novel as part of creating coursework for my school.com community, I'm finding nuances which I don't remember placing there. Just the same as songs I've written 10 years ago, they used to be about him, then they became about Emmy, now they feel like they're about another him, all somewhat chameleon-like. This is how I wrote my first novel. I started writing a story which seemed to keep wanting me to come back to it and write it into being. It's almost a cross between my life and what life can be if you do the work, the kind that turns you into a non-muggle. It brings back the beauty and the sadness of the past, it teaches its readers the few important lessons to learn and perfect, and asks them to try to bring those teachings with them back into their reality, in their hearts. I can't wait for you to read, and have your heart fly into the hearts and minds of the Malena Valley community of back then and what remains of them now, fictionally anyway. While the manuscript is with its editor, I'm conscientiously writing the coursework that will accompany the text. There are many people on their own journeys who wish to expand their thoughts and perspectives while reading themselves into my version of the ancient past, and the coursework is being designed to help them do just that. I'm hoping for an electronic release sometime after April, with a print-on-demand option coming soon after. For updates, links, and other points of access, please visit the website www.JoannaRuth.Online.